Thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so where are my Premiere Pro user group people? Yes. See, it has been 5 years since we have been together in person. That whole COVID thing kind of really screwed things up in a lot of different ways. So I am very happy to be standing in a room full of people. I actually looked, and the last meeting that we did was in February of 2020, and it was on Frame.io versus Whipster and Vimeo. We were comparing them all, and that was the last thing that we did in person. So that was over at Platt College. If you guys, longtime members, remember Platt College, that wonderful kind of sketchy neighborhood place that was very kind to let us use their school. So I am very happy to be here. I want to thank, where is Jody? Is she in the room? Is she not here? Okay, so when Jody comes back in, she is owed a very special thank you, because without Jody, we would not be in this room tonight. And so I want to thank her when she comes in, but we'll do that later. Where to begin? So we are here because Adobe has come down. We've been trying to plan this for a while now, and I am so excited to have these three people here. And Jackie, who's on her way. She sent me a text. This is going to be a really cool night. So I'm not going to waste any more time. The first thing we're going to do is kick off about 10 or 15 minutes of an AMA. Kylee, Shawn, and Patrick are going to come up. You can ask them anything you want, as long as it's related to Adobe and Premiere, okay? Or any Adobe apps, but I think probably Frame and Premiere would probably be the best. Keep it to that, correct?
You can ask us anything.
Ask them anything. So we'll do that for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll start the other presentations, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'll have you three come on up. I'll give one of you this mic. Turn this one on. Pass those around. Who has a question? So somebody's got to ask some kind of question. So,
What is Frame?
Frame.io is an online review and approval platform. Additionally, we have camera to cloud and asset management tools. So if you're needing to do some sort of collaboration with other editors who are using Premiere Pro, maybe passing back VFX or audio or whatnot, or even full-on dailies, you can use Frame.io for that purpose, or for sending cuts to your clients, directors, producers, etc., to get feedback so that you can take action on it in Premiere, and you'll see more of that here in just a little bit.
And Frame is included.
That's right. Frame is included. We are part of Adobe. If you have a Creative Cloud subscription, you get 100 gigabytes of storage for free, along with 2 users on your account. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does Frame.io work with plugins? That's a good question. So Frame.io has a couple of different, for lack of a software term, clients. So we have our web client, which a lot of people use by default. We have our Premiere Pro panel. We're working on some other integrations, both within Premiere Pro and other Creative Cloud applications. Keep your ear to the ground for those. And we have historically had clients in other editing applications as well, whose names, because of the nature of this meeting, I will not mention here. But we do have those. And then if you are doing large file upload, download, we have an application on the desktop called the Frame.io Transfer app. If you don't want to spend the time and money setting up an Aspera account or Signient Media Shuttle, Frame.io Transfer is a great way to get hundreds of gigabytes or even terabytes of data from one place to another in folder structure without fear of losing an internet connection and losing all of your progress. So that is another one of the tools that we have available. A lot of people use that for moving full camera cards or whatnot, or they'll use, we also have in-camera clients. So Shawn might know more about which cameras, but Fujifilm, Nikon, Red, and a number of other devices from like Atmos, Canon, Teradek have camera to cloud built in, so you can sign into your Frame.io account in the camera and shoot directly to your Frame.io account in the cloud and pull those assets down in the transfer app. All right. Any other questions about Frame?
No.
No.
You said we could ask you anything.
You can ask us anything. I'll hand the mic to Shawn because he's got a much cooler voice than I do.
All the AI stuff, the calculations, the stuff that's done in the cloud, are you going to start charging extra for that, or will that be included?
That's a valid question.
And if so, how much? And I'll remind you that you said we could ask it.
Yeah, generative credits are something that we've had previously, so we'll continue to do that. I don't have anything to share about how much anything costs because, frankly, I don't know. Those decisions, fortunately or unfortunately, happen outside of my group. But I do know that generative video is computationally very expensive, so that tends to have a cost to it that text to image doesn't. And it also takes longer and things like that. But things are happening very fast. So in a year, who knows where we'll be.
Kylee, I have a follow-up question. There are some AI features inside of Premiere Pro, like generative extend and transcription. Are those things additional costs, or do those come with Premiere?
Great question, Patrick. So generative extend will consume generative credits, but right now it's free. So you should go try it while it's free. Everything else, though, is included. Caption translation, you can translate captions in 27 languages. That's free. Enhanced speech, media intelligence, those models are on device. Caption translation does use the cloud, but it's free. Everything else, if we can make it on device and do it efficiently without making a huge installer file or anything like that, we do. So there's a lot of AI goodness that we have, and anything that is computationally just way too much for a local system or for us to not manage costs for, then there tend to be generative credits attached to that. Well, in After Effects, we have a new roto brush we introduced last year, which is very good. But in Premiere Pro, we haven't launched any new. Yeah, it's really good. I learned how to use it and pulled an incredibly good roto like 15 minutes before I presented it to a large group like this. So, but we previewed at Adobe Max last year object selection in Premiere Pro, which is the ability to just, exactly what it sounds like, one click, select an object. We're working on that right now, and we wanted to revamp our masking and tracking tools as well, so that it's not just object selection, but rather masking and tracking. I think that rotoscoping is one of those things that it's not very much fun. As someone who has had to do it frame by frame, and even cleaning up roto from like Roto Brush 2, if it's not, it's almost more annoying if you use a tool and it's not perfect and then you have to fix it. So I think that that is definitely one of those tasks that we just want to make it really great to be able to speed it up as much as possible. There will probably be times when a human touch is needed for that. But really, we want you to free up your brain power for other stuff, which is more creative and less about, okay, one frame over, and then it's like, not quite right, you know. So maybe he is living in the past a little bit, but hopefully this year or next year we'll be able to kind of pull him up along with us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The roto brush in After Effects is pretty stinking cool.
Yeah.
The new version of it is
She's quoting you.
Yeah. Quote me on that. Is that on device? All that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Any
Speaking of more cut, when will we analyze the back well, I guess my question is there a recommended framework for use for that transition, or does it depend on the footage?
It depends on, it's very footage dependent. And Morph Cut is something that, frankly, it was one of our earliest AI tools, like way before generative AI. So it needs more love with the recent way of things with generative AI. And we've been getting a lot of feature requests having shown generative extend. How about you use that to blend two clips together? So it's certainly something that has been on our minds. But no specific guidance. You kind of have to fiddle with it and experiment.
Will it work with nested clips? If you have a multi-cam and you bring it in sequence, obviously
Does it work with, does anyone else know? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I can't remember. Because the one, you can't do warp stabilizer in a nested clip. That is something I hear a lot. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. But yeah, I think you can.
regarding what are the AI?
We have, I don't work on Audition, and we haven't been adding a ton to it, but we have enhanced speech, which is in Premiere Pro, and we've been doing a lot of work in Premiere Pro to make it faster for people that are editing to just get a really great mix. We need to port some of that over to Audition, but I don't have anything new to add for Audition right now.
You know, are there going to be AI features to allow multi-cam editing
We have been talking a lot about what media intelligence can enable us to do, and that's something that Shawn's going to show us. And media intelligence, if you haven't seen it, it's Premiere Pro having an awareness of the visuals in your clip, and then hopefully eventually other things like the audio in your clip and stuff. And that's been one big request, is make syncing then much better. Not just time code or in and out points, but rather other things like visuals. Be able to sync a clapper with the audio if there is none on the original clip, if the original clip is MOS. So that's something that we've been talking about, but I don't have anything to share right now. But is that something you'd like? Yes. Okay, great. Noted.
Hey, I think I saw another hand. Two more. Two quick questions. Go ahead.
So you mentioned captioning. So I work in public television, and we have to caption everything. And I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, so there's no list, and it sucks. No, it's. I mean, there's. Well, that's why I'm asking, because there's certain programs that charge you like, certain amount of money. There's some programs where you have to get actual human to do it. It needs to be exact, and they charge like $200 an hour. So my question is there like an app, or how do you caption it? Is what I'm saying. Because we get free creative cloud licenses.
Yeah.
So I can just hit a button on it, or have it.
I mean, I was just going to say speech to text.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you used the new speech to text tool in Premiere? Oh, yeah. So I'm actually going to be doing it in my demo, so hopefully that will kind of answer. But, yeah, I mean, there's some great capabilities in captions, captions alone, but captions translation is kind of a newer feature, and this might be really appealing to you. So I kind of want to save it for the demo because I want you to see how it works. But, yes, I think you'll like it for sure.
Yeah, you can transcribe on import or the sequence in 18 languages and then create captions based on that. And there's different captioning formats for broadcast and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I did 6 episodes in my CBS series for National, and it's a little bit of work. It's not as nice as they show it, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a question? Last question.
Never. It has never, and it will never be used to train AI. If it did, then there'd be a lot of people quitting Adobe. But no, absolutely not. All right. Thank you all for coming. We're all located in Los Angeles, so it wasn't too much of a trek for us. I love San Diego. Yeah, it's so pretty. So we're going to be joined later by our colleague Jackie. She's stuck in traffic. She lives in Temecula. A lot of us work remotely, which is awesome. So I am a senior product marketing manager for Pro Editing, and I was previously an editor. And you can see you've got a whole array of people here. So what we're going to do is Shawn is going to talk us through what's new in Premiere Pro. Patrick is going to talk about what's new in Frame.io, and then I'm going to talk about how we interact with community and our approach to AI, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. So that's all I got. Shawn, you want to come up here?
All right, so popcorn and Coke is in the back. You guys want some soda? No, hello, my name is Shawn. I know I was up there earlier, but I'm a senior video evangelist at Adobe, and yeah, great reason to come down to San Diego and hang out with you all and show you some of the cool things that are inside of Premiere, and hopefully it will help with your workflows as we go along. So we talked a little bit earlier in our AMA about captions translation, so I'm going to just kind of start with that and jump right into it. So right now I'm looking at my sequence inside of Premiere, and captions translation is one of our newer features that it's going to allow you to open up your videos and your films and your TV shows to anywhere around the world, because language is how we all communicate with each other. But like you said, it's a problem to be able to translate that and actually bring them into your videos and make that kind of a seamless process. Well, caption translation now has a lot more updated tools to make this a little bit easier. So in my sequence here, I have this interview, and I can play it. Hopefully there's sound. I don't think there is. Let me check this setting here real quick. That's why. Boop. Okay.
Cross-country runners.
I'm not getting audio through the HDMI. I should tell you.
Yeah, it's coming through.
We heard it.
It was on my speaker though.
Take it live.
At 6 a.m. Go and do my sprints.
Yeah.
You guys can kind of hear it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So with captions translation, I can take my original transcript and now I can caption this in any one of the languages that are available within side of Premiere Pro. So I'm just going to show you really quickly. I've got my speech to text here. I can create my captions from there. And I think I've already got them created. Well, I'm just going to create it from transcript. We'll just do this basic option here. And boom, now I've got some captions. But now I've got a new little button here that allows me to select multiple languages. You can see right there in the top. If I click on that, it'll take that English translation or whatever I originally inputted it as, and I can set a source language of what it was. So in this case, it's English. But now I can set a target language, and I can choose any one of these from the list here. So we can do, let's do maybe some Japanese. Let's try some Polish. And I could do multiple ones here. That's what's really nice, is I don't have to just do one at a time. And maybe we'll just do Spanish just to make it fun. And then down here at the bottom, I can obviously adjust my parameters the same way I've done before. I can hit translate, and then all of a sudden those will appear right there at the top. You can see it just takes a few moments for that to translate. But what makes this really unique with captions translation is now I've got my captions organized. I don't have that random block of text at the top, or I didn't have to duplicate my sequence and create new transcript from there. I can actually just go in and turn on and off which ones I want to see. So I've got these. I think these are on up here. So let me turn that one off. These are ones I did earlier, but you can get kind of the idea. So as I kind of toggle on and off which ones I want to see or not see, I now know what my different captions are. So I'm going to go to this one. And that one is a language I'm not sure what it is. I think that's Russian. Let me move it out of the way here. I could see it here on my, sorry. Oh, it doesn't get wider on the captions. Sorry. Okay, so those are done. So like I said, in this timeline here, I'm able to toggle on and off which caption I want to see. I can have multiple captions on at once. So if I'm trying to appeal to multiple languages, or maybe in the film somebody's speaking a language that needs to get translated, it's easy for me to keep those organized and have them right here on my screen. And that's really a quick and simple look at captions translation. Each one of these tracks is customizable the same way you could do that on your regular captions. You can move them around in different zones. And with the new properties panel, all those fancy tools show up right in your properties panel. So you don't have to pull up a different panel in order to edit all of these captions on there. So yeah, that is a quick look at captions translation. Thank you. All right. Question, go ahead.
Can you export this translations to like a BTT or an SVT file?
I think so, actually. I'm just going to jump in there, and I can do export, and boom, there you go. The answer is yes.
How accurate is the transcription once you run the video through and it figures out what it's saying? Because we've seen a lot of AI stuff, online through whatever social media where they do the transcription of captions and it gets it like 95% right or 90% right at times. Is that more accurate with this, or is it roughly around the same?
I have to say it's pretty accurate, but do we have an exact percentage number on that, Kylie?
English is 90 to 95. It'll screw up on very specific words like name, proper nouns, medical terms. But you can double click in there and do find replace, find all, replace all, things like that.
Yeah, so you can quickly edit those captions. I mean, yeah, you might have to do a little bit of QAing as you go through your edits, but the accuracy I think, is fairly good for the market itself. So
It's pretty amazing it works. Getting the words right, with proper names.
Yeah.
Some of my episodes were in China and stuff like that, and they were spelled right. One thing I will mention is that for broadcast, it's a maximum of 32 characters, including spaces. And sometimes it goes over.
interesting.
Maybe just 5% of the time, but so you have to kind of go in and edit that down to the 32.
Okay, interesting.
And can you move the captions on the screen to be, safe into the safe zone?
Oh yeah, totally. So if I were to actually go in here and just kind of highlight a spot, I can actually physically grab that caption and move it if I need to. The properties panel gives me kind of these quick zones to move it in, but I've got a little bit more granular parameters that I can kind of set if I'm trying to avoid any title safe or safe zones or anything like that. So absolutely. And you can grab them as a whole and edit them all together. But I do, for sake of time, I do want to keep moving forward. So we'll hold on questions till the end. I know you had the issue with, or a question on captions. So we'll hold on questions at the end, but I do want to answer those when we can get to it. But I want to talk next about media intelligence. Now, this is a really, really great tool because, like Kylie was saying earlier, it is a great way for Premiere to kind of read and look at your footage and know what's in there. So that way, I mean, how many times have we gone through looking at footage and man, that one little shot, that one little moment, I remember that we had a shot of those three people, hanging out in the on a brick wall, hanging out and talking. I remember we shot that. Do you guys remember where that was? Well, that is no longer going to be the case because once you import your media into your project, it's automatically analyzed. So now I can actually search for these items. So let's say in this project, I've got a lot of different footage in here, but I'm going to just put in astronauts, if I can spell it right. I don't even have to finish it. It already kind of live populates right here on the screen. So you can see I've got some astronaut footage. Let's say I want to look up, let's say I can even get more granular. I can go people talking. I was just saying I'm looking for shots of people talking. So there we go. We've got some shots here. I can go in there and kind of select and scroll on top of them. I can even get as granular as going like a news anchor, or I could even just say news. And I know I have this footage in here, but I don't know which one is which. But these are all the clips that show up as a news anchor. So what's really nice is if I were to double click on these, it opens up inside of my source window, and it actually gives me, let me find a different one that's got maybe wider in and out points. Maybe I could just do this. Bloop. So it actually gives me the in and out point. So here's the thing. It doesn't just give you the clip. It's giving you the in and out point specifically within that clip, so you don't have to go hunting for it. So if I wanted to simply just drag this onto my timeline, I'm going to use this as an example. I can go ahead and just drag it right onto my sequence. Sorry, I'm doing this one hand here. And it's now available right there. That in and out point has already been set for me. Here's what's really cool. I could select multiple clips.
And
and I can just drag them, if I need more fingers, drag them right onto my timeline. All those in and out points have already been set on those clips, and now they're just right there on my timeline. So now I can just search for anything. I mean, I can look for specific things within the image, like lens flare. I think there's some clips in there with some lens flare. No, I don't. Well, that was a great example, Shawn. Sorry, it's my first day. But you get the idea. But also, it's not just limited to your visuals. It's also giving you transcription. So in that captions translation, we were talking about university. So I'm just going to type in university. And you can see here that it actually goes into my captions translation, and it will show me where this person actually said something about a university. It takes me to the track in there, but it should open up in my... Oh, it shows up in my transcript. But it takes me right into that transcript to where that was said in there. So that is another thing that it will take advantage of, is your visuals, your metadata, and also the text that's within your captions translation. So media intelligence, really, really great way to find those specific moments that you're looking for. You're not limited to just putting in a single word, too. You can actually put in a phrase like people talking, or I'm looking for a news anchor, doing something specific. Media intelligence will be able to decipher that and make it easier for you to find your footage within a project. I know we have a hand up, but I do want to have sake for time, but we do have question opening at the end. Parking lot. All right, cool. So that is media intelligence. Thank you. All right, let's get into some nitty-gritty stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the AI tools, so we're going to get a little nerdy here. I don't want to go into it too much because Kylie's going to be going over some AI stuff as well, but I want to kind of talk a little bit about what Firefly can do. And I know we talk a lot about, AI kind of replacing certain things and images and whatnot, but in this scenario, I want to give you instances where it actually can help you in terms of, maybe there's a flub with the camera, maybe there's particle effects that you need to add. Well, Firefly can do a lot of those things, and I want to show you a little bit how that's done. So I've got this sequence here, and I want to pull up one really nifty thing. I want to pull up this moment here. I'm going to hit play. So I left kind of a space inside of that moment there because I want to fill it with something else, but I don't have that media to work with. The team didn't shoot it, or I don't have that stock footage. So I can actually take that information into Firefly, and I could say, hey, generate me some footage that I need for this. So I'm not going to be able to do it right this moment, but I do want to show you what the result was as kind of a stepping stone in this little scene here. So if I hit play again, this is the AI-generated video I was able to get from Firefly. So I was able to actually just put in a reference image from my edit, put that into Firefly, and have it generate a quick video for me. So I've almost made myself custom stock images. But I want to give you a little bit more of an example of that. We have a scenario here, and it's hard to hear because I've got it on the computer speaker, but I'm cranking it. But I'm going to hit play, but I want you to kind of hear the voiceover because there's a story point here that's kind of important.
And if one thing is pulled out of place,
so the voiceover said, if there's one thing that's pulled out of place. Well, clearly that image is not showing somebody pulling something out of place. It's completely the opposite. They're flipping a switch. Well, what I can do is I'm actually going to take a still. I'm just going to grab a still from my edit here, save it to my desktop, take it into Firefly, and use it as my first frame of reference. Give it some notes of what I want it to do. And now when I go back into my edit, I can drop that video back in, and watch when I hit play now, I have something completely different to show off.
and if one thing is pulled out of place,
So Firefly Video was able to actually change and alter the scenario. So, I mean, the team, they can't shoot the change in that story. So I was able to go in Firefly and make that change and adjustment, and that's quick and easy to do right inside a Firefly Video. Now, I wanted to show you something else too, is that this snow that's on this screen now is not really real. Of course, it's not real. We're on a set. But what I'm saying is that It is a particle effect, and I was actually able to generate particle effects, and I could do this with a slew of things inside of Firefly Video, and I could put it to a black background and use a simple screen effect inside of my effect controls. Just turn on my blend mode, and boom, I've got a particle effect. I can turn this back on, and now I can see that I've added snow and elements to my edit there, which is really, really cool. And one other thing I want to show you on this sequence is that let's say we want to kind of do some pre-visualization. Maybe the team hasn't finished shooting, but the editor wants to kind of convey how we think the story should go, or relate it to the script in some sort of way. Well, what we did is, again, we took a reference image, and I don't have the original, which kind of stinks. Hold on, let me see if I have a before one. Oh, I do. Okay. So in this sequence here, it's the same shot. We've got the astronaut kind of staring off into the mountains. But then the script calls for them to be inserted into a snow globe, because they're not actually on this weird distant planet. They're in a snow globe somewhere. Well, here's what's kind of cool is, again, I could take a reference image, send that into Firefly Video, and now I can actually bring in that clip from Firefly. And now I can have it kind of previs exactly what I'm looking for, and now we can send it to our VFX artist. Now, instead of us just having text to go, hey, this is what it's going to look like, now we can actually have some visuals in there to go, hey, this is what our VFX team needs to put together to make this shot work. Now, I've got one other thing I want to show you, which I really think is really cool, and this is part of some new footage that we have for NAB. Now, it's this edit of this Vespa footage. This girl's trying to get this letter to this guy and bring him back home. And inside of the original edit, we actually like a different shot, but we only have one take of it. But watch what happens with that shot. Well, looks like his goggles fell off. I'm going to play it again. But the director really wants that take. But that's all we have. The goggles fall off. It's unusable. Unless it's part of the gag, but it's not. Well, again, we take that reference image into Firefly Video, and now we play it back, and watch what happens here. The goggles stayed on. So if I hide that top layer, hit play, goggles off, go back in, goggles are still there, and I was able to salvage that shot. So I wanted to give you guys at least a range of, creating your own stock media to creating your own particle effects or effects that you want to put on top of your imagery, but also even fix story issues and maybe even bloopers that happen on your image. We've seen it work on, camera operators that might, cut too early or move the camera around at the wrong moment, or if there's a transition moment that you want to change, Firefly's been able to help solve a lot of those issues that we've had there. So that is a quick look. Captions translation, media intelligence, and obviously Firefly to video and generative extend. I didn't really go over generative extend, but yeah, that's a little bit. I think that's my time. I'm going over here. Cool. I'm going to hand it back to, actually, Patrick, I think, is up. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, great. I'm Patrick. I'm one of the product managers at Frame.io. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you have heard of or have used Frame.io? Okay, decent number of you. Okay. How many of you are familiar with or have used Frame.io v4? Few of you. Okay, great. So I'll go through a number of the things that are new inside of Frame.io v4, but I want to start right here inside of Premiere Pro using the same sequence that Shawn was just showing us. So we've got this story about this woman who's going to bring this man back home and wants to make sure that his goggles don't fall off, I think is what the story beat is. But just so that I know that I'm going in the right direction, I've got my V1 put together. I want to get this, over to my director, get some notes back from my director, but my director happens to be in Denmark. I'm here in San Diego. There's a time zone difference. We're not going to hop on a call right now. So for those of you who may have used Frame.io in the past, how many of you have used our Premiere Pro extension in the past? Handful of you. Okay. So for those of you who have used it in the past, you may be aware that we have a review workspace that's built into Premiere Pro. Now in Premiere Pro 25.2 and later, we've revised this workspace to use our new Frame.io V4 comments panel. So if you've used the previous panel, you may need to come in here and hit reset to save layout, or simply go to Window, and then we've got our Frame.io submenu, and you can use our V4 comments panel right here. So I've got my sequence here. If I had already exported it and uploaded it, or put it out to some other tool for doing like an audio mix or color or VFX, I can come in here and I can link to any asset that's already inside of Frame.io. So for example, let's see, do we have Chris's project here? So we can go into Chris's project if I want to, and I can find an existing edit and link to that. Or if this is an entirely new cut and it's not ever been uploaded before, I can simply click Export and Share. And just like you would expect in any other export surface inside of Premiere, I can change the name of the exported file. I've got my standard presets that are pulled from Media Encoder or the favorite section of export mode. If for some reason you want to do some specific encoding preset that you've created inside of Media Encoder, you can select that preset file here. So if you're wanting to export in ProRes Quad 4 or some flavor of DNX or something, you can do that. And again, very, very standard. We can either do the entire sequence, or if you are like a lot of folks and have a bunch of stuff hidden way off in the distance on the right-hand side, you can set your in and out points, and we'll respect those on your export and upload. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I've in Frame.io selected, I had a San Diego Premiere Pro Users Group project, and I've selected the Edits folder. I can create a new folder too right from here if I want to, but in this case I'm going to select this folder. And if you have used our extension in the past, we only exclusively ever used Send to Media Encoder, so everything always went to Media Encoder, but now, if you want to go get a diet soda, you can click Export. I do need to select an export option. Because of internet, I'm going to do low bit rate because you never know the speed of the internet that you're going to have available to you. And you'll notice right away, unlike in the past, we have the ability to copy a link immediately. So even while this is still uploading, you can copy this link, send it via text message, WhatsApp, Slack, email, however, to the person that you're working with, and you don't have to wait for the upload to be done. So if you want to get that over to them and drive home if you're at the office, or do any number of other things, you absolutely can. I'm going to go ahead and hop in. Oh, one other thing I do want to show that is new or different for those of you who are already familiar with Frame.io is that I can actually make a Frame.io comment directly from the timeline now. So I don't have to go into a panel and search someplace. I can say, for example, this was our only take. Please don't ask me to swap it out. So I do that right here inside of Premiere Pro, and whenever I go out to that link, it'll be there waiting for me. So you can see already I've added a comment to the timeline, and now it's already here on the web. For those of you who are not as familiar with Frame.io, I'm going to do just kind of a brief overview of what Frame.io is and some of its capabilities, and then I want to get back to the magic of the relationship between Frame.io and Premiere Pro. For those of you who saw some of the magic that Shawn had, we don't have all of that in terms of media intelligence today inside of Frame.io, but we do have a lot of extended metadata capabilities. So for those of you who may have in the past used Frame.io and only ever had 3 statuses and been upset that none of these made sense to the work that you were doing, now if I take this set of assets, I can come in here and I can say, ready for, actually somebody throw out a status that is not needs for review, in progress, or done or approved.
Client hates it.
Client hates it. Okay, got it. Client hates it. Great. Now I can add that as a status to all of these shots all at once. So now not only can I add a custom status, I can make a status represented across a bunch of shots all at once just by having them selected. And in fact, in addition to that, we've got all of these other properties. So I'm going to select these, open them up. We actually have this, you're used to comments, but we also have fields now. So you can come in here and just kind of like you would inside of Premiere. You've got your different metadata views. We've got metadata views within Frame.io as well. So, if I want to, for example, look at the rating of a bunch of different clips, if I can spell rating, I can do that right here, right? So I can look at the clip in the properties panel. I can set it on the clip itself. We have assignee and keywords. So, we can say Vespa. Someone already used Vespa. Well, how about that? Anybody else got another keyword that they want for this shot? Goggles. Okay, goggles. And did I hear mountains? Mountains. Okay. So let's see, what all has, we got some goggles in this one, this one, this one, and this one. We'll go into keywords and we'll add goggles to all of these. So another thing that's fun inside of Frame.io, if you're working with like a producer or somebody that's not going to get hands-on into Premiere Pro, we have this new concept called collections. So I'm just going to create a new collection. We'll start with the Adventure Bike folder. I don't really want this to do with the Princess Cruise Lines folder or Salulita. So I'm going to set my source folder, but then I can actually come in here and I can set filters. So I'm going to do only those things that have keywords. Specifically, I want Vespa or mountains. So if it's got Vespa or mountains, it's going to show up in this folder. Actually, I'm going to do all assets in case there's anything else that comes up. And I can show keywords as well. So if I want to remove keywords, I can do that. So very quickly and easily, if I come in here to footage and we go back into day one, we can, let's see, let's find, we got keywords, we do Vespa, we do some goggles. And all I got to do is hop back over into my collection and those shots have been added. So that's collections. Collections allow me to filter, sort, group things in kind of like a saved search kind of a way. So for example, I can set it up so that I'm not only filtering by things that have a rating, but I can group them by rating. So I can quickly look at all my 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, etc. And while those are grouped, I can sort them by name or by any other sort of thing. Or if I want to just look at legal documents, but I don't want to have them all in the same folder, I can look at all of my legal documents from across all of my folders. That's collections. Beyond just having those in here, I can also, maybe I've got a client that I only want to see things that happen to have legal review attached to them. Maybe they're a lawyer or something. I can create a share from that, and now whenever I send them this link, that link will dynamically update anytime I click the legal review checkbox. There are any number of things you can do with that. You could do, needs review, so they would only see the things that they need to review. You could even set an assignee if you wanted to, so that it's only things that are needs review for that particular person. I'm going to go against the grain and say, any questions about that before I move on?
Backwards compatible back into Premiere Pro?
Not yet, but heard. Yeah, you can download these assets from here. So I talked earlier about the fact that we have that transfer app. So you can download those clips from here directly to a folder and then pull them in. It's a little bit of a workaround. You can do that today. But it does seem to make a lot of sense that if we've got metadata tools in Frame.io, you'd want those to be available in Premiere.
That I think is the key, like find a great metadata thing. To be able to have this metadata that you can do here, backward compatible, would be awesome.
Yeah, when you're talking about backward compatible, you're talking about it goes into Premiere or it comes from Premiere to Frame?
Well, Frame, my client, your director, I like this shot. I like it's all been coded, someone codes it all.
Yeah.
And now the director says, take these shots or whatever. Now you know what all the metadata is that they've added in Premiere Pro. So so you can build your edit with a lot more metadata that's been done here on Frame.io from the guy who built it.
I don't have anything that I can say about that at this exact moment in time, but I think that's a very logical and reasonable ask of you to have. All right. Any other questions before I move on?
I just want to be clear, so these assets are up in some sort of Frame.io cloud?
Yes, these have all been uploaded to Frame.io, and that can either be done. I have a special affinity for our web uploader. I was the product manager for it and for our transfer app, and we did a very good job, I think, of making the uploader as fast as possible. I won't name the names of competing products, but we are as good as best-in-class uploaders for web. So if you've got bandwidth that can be saturated, we can saturate it. Up to 1 gigabit per second for sure, I know from testing myself. And then we've had people who've tested above 1 gig and had pretty decent speeds for their uploads. Any other questions about that before I hop over to showing the translation stuff that we have, or transcription stuff we have? Yes?
Does the search, can it work the same way it works in Premiere with the image aware stuff?
Not today, but that, again, if that's a thing you see inside of Premiere Pro, it would be a very logical and reasonable thing to expect that Frame.io could someday in the near future do something similar. Yeah. Anyone else? No. Yes. No. I can't see. No, there's not anybody else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hop over. The next thing I want to show is that Premiere Pro is not the only place that has the ability to do transcriptions. And as you've noted, there are oftentimes producers, directors, clients who want to review the footage and say, hey, you know, maybe use this moment. And so today we already have the ability to do, oh man, I just gave away the fun stuff. But we already have the ability to do what are called range-based comments, right? So I could be playing through my audio.
The director be able to not just meet in person, because it's very helpful to meet in person, but he's out.
So I want to start maybe here.
He's out on production, you know, shooting things, and so to have a tool for him and I to be able to communicate seamlessly is incredibly helpful in our workflow. Okay, so as a producer, I might say, great, use this in Act 2. That's a very traditional way to do things. There's not a whole lot of context for a producer, though. And have any of you ever worked with a producer who liked to have a written transcript and then do like a paper edit? Is that a thing that any of you have? Okay. So I have too. I've worked documentary on some O.J. Simpson stuff, and we were having to find like the Bruno Mali shoes and that sort of thing. And that was a pain because we had literally paper transcripts, literally printed from the 90s, and had to get that somehow associated with our footage. That was painful. But here, you know, I can just browse through as a director and, you know, I can learn about how important it is to be organized. It's so important to be organized, but also.
So maybe that's a line that I would want to use in my edit. So I can come in here, I can highlight this, and I can create a comment and say, yes, that is important. Use in Act 1 at the top. And I've just used the transcript itself to make a comment that's range-based. And now if I, you know, click on either of these, it'll jump me to that moment in time, and I can just play.
It's so important to be organized.
Or
he's out on production, you know, shooting things, and so to have a tool for him and I to be able to communicate seamlessly is incredibly helpful in our workflow.
And maybe, you know, I want to find other moments where she talks about workflow for, which act was that? That was Act 2. So maybe I want to find other instances where she talks about workflow, and I can come through here, just like I did with the others, very quickly and create comments that can be used by the editor to whittle down the edit. We don't currently have the ability to translate our transcriptions, but we do have the ability to support multiple languages. So if you've got an interview that is in Spanish or in Danish, Dutch, Italian, French, Portuguese, Russian,
I think we've got 18 languages that we support currently for transcription within Frame.io. Yes?
As far as the transcription, how accurate is it if there's accent involved? Because obviously English has a bunch of different languages, or different regions where it has different accents, and the same applies to other languages as well.
It's going to be as accurate as the text panel inside of Premiere Pro. We're using the same technology under the hood. So it will be no more or less accurate. If I'm not mistaken, 90 to 95% accurate with English. I'm from Oklahoma, and if I talked like I did back home, then it would probably get 90% of what I had to say. Yeah.
How did you bring up that transcription window in Premiere? Or sorry.
Inside of Frame? Yeah, so just kind of a hot tip is if you're looking for a thing and you don't know where it is inside of the Frame.io viewer, we hide a lot of our tools down here in the bottom. So we have anchored comments, for example. So if I wanted to say forehead, I don't know why I would say that, but you could. Or, hey, this is a window, which is, again, kind of an obvious thing. But we've got our anchored comments down here, but we also have the transcription here. And you'll see if you hover over, we do, in fact, give you a handy little hotkey. So you've got your Shift-T while you're in this view. And in addition, you know, if I've got a bunch of different clips, I'll just go over here to Cellulita. If I go to this interview section, I've got all of these. I can actually generate transcripts for all of them at the same time. And just kick that off, and you'll see that it's generating the transcript in the background. So right now, we're not doing this automatically. We only generate transcripts on demand. So you demand it, and then we do it. So currently, if you want to do a bunch of stuff all at the same time, you need to select the assets that you want to have transcribed, and then we'll do it for you. Any other questions about that before we move on? Yeah.
Well, on transcription, just maybe I'm reading, but if you change the, you take the key of the transcription and you put it somewhere else, does it change the video?
Say that again.
Okay, well, say like you have somebody saying pumpkin in the beginning.
Someone says pumpkin.
So you move it, you cut and paste it.
Okay.
At the bottom, and it's pumpkin at the end instead of the beginning. You know?
We're not, yeah, we don't, in Frame.io, we don't currently have the idea of a timeline or rearranging of text or speech or AI generative, make them say something else. So that doesn't exist currently. Right now, I think that'll be we'll see how many people want or need or have a thing, but this transcription right now is just in beta. So, by the way, if you are using our transcription and you want to provide us feedback, we, in that transcript panel, here, let's go back to this interview. We have this wonderful little send feedback button, which sends directly to the product manager and team who are responsible for transcription, things that you would like to see. So that would be a good example. If that's something that you'd want to see, I'd recommend hopping in here and sending your feedback. Also similar to the question that was asked earlier, can you get a VTT or an SRT? Yes, you can. Yes, Eric.
So, wishful thinking for future versions.
Wishful thinking. Michael, I hope you're listening.
What would be, so I send out interviews to clients all the time.
Okay.
And what I usually do is I post a video to Frame and I send them a Word doc, the transcript.
Yeah.
Now I can just sort of do both in Frame, which is awesome.
That's right.
They can figure it out. What would be even more awesome is if they could go through that transcript, since it's connected back to Premiere, and they can just delete the parts like strike through or some kind of thing where they delete it. And when I open up Premiere and connect it to Frame, since it has the time code, all that text is time coded, Premiere can take that interview and sort of pre-cut based on what they did in that panel.
Oh, that would be really cool. Let me ask you this. Other than having a recommendation of what not to include, what other sorts of things might you want them to do to mark up the transcript?
Well, for me, just for my workflow, I'm usually sending them the raw clips, and then
Right.
they're building that paper cut. They're sending me back a Word doc with everything struck through.
Okay.
And then I go to Premiere and the text panel, and then just pull the pieces that they want to keep.
Got it. Got it. So it's like basic rating of the moments.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all I need for my clients too. So if they can just kind of do that, just real easily highlight a section and hit delete
You know, it's really funny what happens when you introduce transcription and captioning technologies at NAB for both Premiere Pro and Frame.io. It's like people want them to work together or something. I don't know what that's about. But Eric, that's some really good feedback.
It's a little bit like range-based comments, though, right?
Ray trace comments? Oh, range-based comments. I was like, ray trace comments. Yes, they are going to be shaded in 3D. Yes, it is very similar to range-based comments, but it sounds like what you're asking for isn't just a comment type, but actually, here, this is a great segue into what I was going to show you next. So I am going to move on because there's still a little bit of magic I want to get to before, and Kylee, I'm probably like encroaching, so I want to be cognizant of time. It does not yet. Well, okay, there is some stuff that syncs with your timeline that I will show you here in just a minute. But Eric, the thing I do want to show you that I think is related. How many of you have things that are not just video that you're working with when you're working on a video, like talent releases or a script or a contract? Anybody deal with? Okay, so not always do we agree to the terms or to the content of the script or whatever. And Frame.io has had for a long time tools that are useful across images and across video and across Word documents where I can, come in here and maybe I want to say, well, let's not use the word enthusiasts. Let's call them fans. All right, so I can do that. That's a thing that I can do, and it works. It's a good way to communicate. But there's an even better way that I can do that as of recent. I can now, inside of Frame.io, remember I told you there are these little tools here at the bottom. I'm going to grab my suggestions tool. I'm going to highlight enthusiasts, and I'm going to say replace with fans. And now, instead of having done this little squiggly thing, I actually have a markup that says don't do this, do that instead. Or maybe I come in here and I say develop loyalty programs and special offers. Maybe I just want to say and develop special offers because we're moving away from a loyalty program. So I can say we don't do loyalty programs. If I could spell, which I cannot, but that's okay. So now, I've got the ability to very quickly mark these things up. I could maybe even say, through strategic marketing, insert, and advertising. And advertising. So I can very quickly go through, mark this up, and clicking on the comment within the document jumps me to the exact moment in the document, or the exact place in the document that I was talking about or that my client was talking about, and we can have full conversations and say, no, that's silly. That's how I talk to myself. Anyway, any questions about markup within Word documents and PDFs?
Can you make PDFs from the transcriptions or in Word?
We can make SRTs and VTTs today. We don't have PDF as an export format for transcripts as of this moment. What would you want to do if you could make a PDF?
I want to second Eric's thing. I've been exactly in the same spot where you have a client doing like a paper edits on like a transcription, and it seems like you have all the tools already kind of in there. They just don't do that specifically.
But if we had something like this and you could do it on the transcript, that would be useful?
Yeah, makes sense. If everything's in one place, I mean, at least you're already there, right?
God, you all have such logical feedback and requests tonight. All right. I do want to, for the sake of time, hop and show you one last thing that I think is really fun and cool and nifty. We had our clip that we were commenting on earlier. For those of you, we don't have a transcript for this one, it's all music. I want to walk you through some of the new commenting features inside of Frame.io, or some that have existed for a while that you might not have been aware of. So one of my favorites is, I don't know if any of you ever have to do a zoom in or a zoom out on anything, but I'm a big fan of having a visual. I'm a visual learner, so I'm going to just, while I'm making this comment, I want to say, the very Ken Burnsy thing of start here, end here, and by the way, what's the direction of the motion? The direction of the motion is here, right? So I getting real fancy with my drawing. So we're going to say zoom in on this. This shot's feeling long, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say speed this up if I can only drag a range. Here, we'll go here. We'll do Shawn's method and do an in and out point because that can actually be a lot more efficient. So we'll say speed up. And let's see, what else? We got this, and we want to know that this is a barn. Remove it with Firefly or anything else. And, we want to let them know how enthusiastic we are about that. That's very important. And then finally, let's see, there's a great shot where she's driving towards us, and she's got this light right here, but I really want to add the Adobe logo for some reason. And I have this nifty thing called comment attachments. Let me see if I can find where I put that file. I sure hope that I still have it. Let's see. Recents, did I put it in recents? I'm not very organized. It's quite the shame. Footage is not in footage. Yeah, let's see. If only I had search inside of here, right? .jpg. Do I have any images? You'll just have to imagine what it would have been like. Okay. Here, I'll just add a file. So we'll go into media. We got John Kim OCFs. OCF is going to be, we'll do a sound. There we go. Add this sound. Add this sound here. And then I just click that, and here on the web I can hear said sound. That makes perfect sense in context. And then if I hop back into Premiere Pro, you'll see that those have already shown up inside of my Premiere Pro. So all I have to do is click on the comment. It'll jump me to that moment in time. And for those of you who use the V3 extension, you may remember that it took like 3 different clicks to get your comments into the timeline as markers. You'll notice that they are already here. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to import anything. And if you don't want them, you can simply turn them off. But if you want them again, you can turn them back on. It's just a toggle now. But I can see my comments. I can see the context about, okay, this is the barn that they want me to remove. I think that's really quite silly, but okay, we can do it. And finally, I can hear that creak and not understand why they want it there, but I can import it directly into my project and cut it straight into the timeline right where that playhead is. And you can't hear it because of the music, and I'll have to go and mix it, but you get the idea. And you'll notice because I have done an edit, somehow it knows that the version that is in my timeline is no longer the same as the version that's inside of Frame.io, so I'm seeing a thing my client isn't. So if I want to, I can simply click this new version button, and it's going to use my previous presets, my settings that I'd used previously to upload a new version in place, so I don't even have to change the link, and my client can go and make a new round of notes on my my new cut. Another thing, thank you. Another thing I do want to mention, and this comes up a lot, and I fail to remind people of this. We know that nobody wants to edit from the same sequence when they're doing versions. We do actually keep track of what sequences are related to what assets in Frame.io. So if I click new version here, I will link my comments from the new version into the duplicate sequence. I didn't have to stay in the same sequence and all of that. So I can safely duplicate my sequence, export a new version, and then work on the new sequence as opposed to having to work off the old sequence. So we know you like to duplicate your sequences. We're respecting that, and we're tracking it so that you can just work the way that makes sense to you and work on the notes in whichever version you want to. Now, any questions on that?
Where does the squeaky sound go on is it in the cloud? Is it on your computer? How does it fit into the structure of your files?
Yeah, that's a good question. It downloads, I believe, to a preset folder that our extension's been given, so it's not directly visible, but you can always do the entire, where is it? Where is it?
Put it back on your drive.
Reveal in Finder. So it is in Finder. Ah, there you go. It's Frame.io attachments. Thank you, engineers. You made me look good. Yes, so we have a Frame.io attachments folder that it downloads to that's in the same directory as your project.
Can you set that to go to ask you every time you import?
Not today. Not today do we have the ability to set that. Would you want it every single time you downloaded something, or would you prefer to set a location that this downloads in general for a project?
Every time.
Yeah, because it's going to start being messy if you download a bunch of stuff to your computer when you're working off a drive to like a preset thing. You're going to have to move it at some point, and then you're going to have to relink everything. So it's going to, if you're just doing one, it's fine. But if you're downloading a lot of assets, then it's going to start becoming.
Would you rather it be a prompt for every single download? Because we have that in the old version of the panel where we do in fact prompt you every time you download. Or so that is what we do today. Or there are where are they? At the project level, it is your project settings. We have scratch disks. Do you ever actually use these or no? You do actually use these? If we were to have a scratch disk location for those, would that sufficiently meet your needs, or do you still want the prompt every time?
If you can put it in a specific folder, then you can keep it organized every time, regardless of what your, however you work, right? So I would say you should ask every time, or at least have the option to ask every time.
Okay.
Say, hey, I don't care anymore. I don't ask anymore.
Like Safari and Chrome always have that option and use it every time.
Okay. Heard. Good feedback. Thank you so much.
In version 4, you got rid of the compare side by side. That was in version 3. Is that going to come back?
We got rid of it in V4. It's back. So if we come in here, I can come in here and just click compare versions, and voila. Yeah, that I don't remember when we put that back, but that was one of the things that we heard about very early.
Version 4 has lost that, it did that a lot for clients.
Okay.
The other question was that I know exists is it's web-based. Is it aware of the gamma tags? So if I upload gamma 2.2 or gamma 2.4, when it's shown on an Apple device versus a Windows device, is it aware of the potential Apple?
The difference between browsers and how they handle gamma?
Because I know we've done testing, me and all the color nerds that I hang out with, and it seems like it's getting better at being accurate, but we're just curious.
I'll tell you that we have a dedicated media services or media pipeline team that really cares about color accuracy, but I will also tell you that we don't have control over how browsers handle things all the time, and that we will do the best that we can with what we got. But that until it's solved across all browsers, I don't imagine it being solved 100% of the time in our surfaces. But if you want something as accurate as you can get it, you can use our iPad app, you can use the Apple TV app, you can use our, did I say iOS? iPadOS, iOS, Apple TV. Those tend to be the most accurate representations.
Upload both the 2.2 and the 2.4 and tell them which, if you're using this device.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know the answer to that, and I'm sorry. I wish I had our engineering compatriots from our media pipeline team here, but that's a good question. So you're saying you upload things in 2.2 and 2.4, or you're?
That's been the workaround for a long time.
Okay.
Just be able to say, if you're going to use this on an Apple device, you should use this link.
Okay.
Because it's going to look different than if you watch it.
But essentially, it's the desire for some sort of like ODT kind of experience where.
Yeah, like if it read the tags as 2.4 and knew, hey, it's going to look weird on an Apple device, so tweak that.
That's good feedback. I can pass that along. Thank you very much. Okay, great. I think I'm probably well over time at this point. Kylie, I want to, last questions, one last? Before, okay, yes.
Do the comments change when you change, like do the time codes change on the comments if you make a change?
We still have the same age-old problem as of this moment, where the time-coded notes are from the thing that was uploaded to Frame.io. The markers, the timeline markers, as you're editing, will follow along, right? So if I switch back to that first version of the edit, which by the way, I didn't show you that. You can switch between versions of comments within the same timeline. But if I'm doing like an edit that has, the markers will follow, but the comment list will still take you to the wrong place at this particular moment in time. But having been an editor who had to deal with that stuff and editing from the end to the beginning, and it was really annoying, your pain is heard, and we've been working to figure out how to make that experience better. That's all I've got for you for right now, but we're working on it. Thank you so much.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about our approach to community, because in the last few years, post-COVID, we realized that a lot of groups like this hadn't been meeting, or we hadn't been able to go out in the community, so we built some more feedback loops, and we've been building up more mechanisms to talk to you all. And we've been getting some really, really good feedback, and I wanted to just talk briefly about how that has shown up inside of Premiere Pro. So in the last year, this is a list of the things that have really come directly from community feedback in all of its forms. Whether it's a forum post, if you post on the community forum or on Reddit or on anywhere else, we're watching. We're always watching. And we keep track of all that. But we also have customer advisory groups, and we have summits. We have so many different ways to go about this, because a lot of us within the video org used to be editors, or still are editors, or other creatives. And we kind of have an inkling of where we need to go, but we need your help to prioritize and also to get it right, because things are changing moment by moment for creatives, especially now. So some things that we've shipped in the last year that have come from the community requests are the properties panel, which you saw Shawn present. That replaces a couple of different panels and just makes it very easy to contextually get to exactly what you need. When you're clicking on text, it shows you text stuff, for example. Also, we added crop, so you don't have to add a crop effect, by the way. I know, right? GPU accelerating speech to text. That was a big one, too. Speech to text, it can happen in the background, but what if it were faster? Great. Audio category tagging. This is when you add your files, your audio files into the sequence, AI automatically recognizes what kind of audio it is and adds a badge. We did that because people were saying, I need to click around less. I need less mouse mileage, literally the amount of time that I'm dragging the mouse around. I want to bulk delete speakers when I'm text-based editing. I want markers in the text panel. Much faster plugin loading on the Mac. We cache plugins so you don't have to reload the plugins every time. Rewriting support for H.264 in MP4 and MOV, and then just hardware acceleration for so many formats. And something a lot of people missed last year, we shipped free sound effects in the Essential Sound panel. You can go in there and click on Adobe Stock, and there's a filter for free, and also free music. And then just ongoing performance and stability. And then this release, 25.1, sorry, which just came out this month, I guess, last month, this month. They all blend together when you have NAB in there. We completely rewrote the color pipeline and added a wide gamut working color space, because Premiere was written in a time when HDR didn't exist. So we had to kind of pull out all the plumbing and put in new plumbing to accommodate HDR. Media intelligence and search. That all came from you all saying, I need to find stuff. And events like this, where you're making really great suggestions that we bring back to our engineers. Generative extend, bringing that to market at 4K. When we went to beta with it last year, it was limited to HD. So, of course, how about 4K, since literally everything is 4K? Also, vertical aspect ratios. Caption translation, a big one, probably the top request in our forums, importing MKV files. We also shipped that. Hardware acceleration, faster peak file generation and audio conform, and performance and stability. So what's next? So just giving you a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, something I mentioned before, object selection and improved masking and tracking. We previewed that last fall, and we're working on getting that right, because we wanted to make sure that the masking and tracking tools were really great before we added any other layers to it. We're going to keep improving generative extend based on your feedback. So we need you all to go and try it out. It's literally in Premiere Pro today, 25.1. Go and download it. You can play around with media intelligence and search. Generative extend for free right now. Media intelligence will always be free. And more performance and stability improvements as well. So beyond that, what's next? Well, I want you to tell us. So I want to do a real quick live straw poll. Oh, also quality of life improvements. We've been doing a lot of these too. So these are all the little things that really matter for editors. And I wanted to just make a big list of them all. Like, a lot of these things don't grab headlines. Like smoother zooming in the monitor, dynamic track height, support for LTC timecode. LTC timecode support was huge. But it's not like I can go to an executive and say, hey, give us a bunch of money to market LTC. And they'll be like, who are you? So I wanted to mention that we are constantly doing the things that don't always grab the headlines, but we always try to push it out there and refresh it, and because we know that these are the things that really make the difference. So what's next? You help us decide. If you can, pull out your phone and scan this QR code, or you can go to Slido, and type in 370637, and we'll do a little quick live poll. I've got a list of things I got from our product marketing team on Premiere Pro. All right, here's the live. More modern all right, we're going here. We've only got 5. Come on, let's go. Let's prioritize. We got to move fast. Yeah, more modern effects and transitions is up at the top. Smart object removal, super slow motion. Interesting. What's at the bottom? Oh, support for ARM-based Windows machines is not singing to you. Come on. All right, I'm going to keep this going for a couple more seconds. Smart object removal. That's a really interesting one. We showed that as a research preview at Adobe Max, and it's fascinating. It's also harder than it looks to implement in Premiere Pro. So super interesting. Super slow motion. That's really interesting. All right. I'll go for another 15 seconds or so. So it looks like y'all really want smart object removal. What kind of objects are you wanting to remove? Lights. That's great. I love that. Reflections. That would be hard, I bet. Okay. All right. So it looks like we landed on smart object removal, more modern effects and transitions, improved mask tracking, smart object selection. Interesting. Okay. Cool. All right. Let me jump back on here. You can continue to vote if you like. I am taking all of that to our product team. So thank you for that. I want to fit into talking about our approach to AI as well, because I know this is a really hot topic. And, AI is not new to Adobe. We've been doing what we call assistive AI for a long time. And that helps creators just accomplish things better. It's like automating tedium. It's things like auto reframe or enhanced speech. It isn't creating anything new. It's just taking away something that was tedious and making it a little easier. And then there's generative AI, which is this new thing, and it creates brand new stuff from prompts. And there's this interesting cross-section that we found here where we can combine these two to simplify some really complex tasks, continue to reduce tedium, and facilitate this faster ideation. So you spend more time on the storytelling part of your job, which is probably the reason why you got into it originally. So these are some of the issues that we think about all the time when we're developing features or when we're trying to think of where we should go next with Premiere Pro and our other apps. Things like intellectual property, copyright, harm and bias, being transparent, and of course regulatory compliance. These are all really important parts of our process. So Adobe Firefly, if you're familiar, that is Adobe's set of AI tools, AI models. And Adobe Firefly is centered around accountability, responsibility, and transparency. And what that means is everybody has come together to agree that Adobe Firefly is going to do right by creatives. Because we make creative tools. That is our primary business, and so everything that we launch is in service of creatives. So that comes out as it being commercially safe by design. It's trained only on licensed images and public domain content. We offer for enterprise customer indemnification as well. There's a Firefly bonus compensation plan with Adobe Stock. We have an AI ethics review board with diverse oversight. And we have bias correction methods to help ensure that image outputs are diverse and inclusive. And we're building for native integration in all of our apps. So I want to be perfectly clear. Firefly models are commercially safe. That means that you can use the outputs commercially. You're not going to infringe on someone's IP. Your content will not ever be used to train generative AI. You're fully in control. And that's what we want to introduce to Firefly more and more. And that's what we're hearing from the community is control. Controlling my data, but also controlling what I'm creating. We also defend the intellectual property rights of the creative community through advocating for the FAIR Act, the Federal Anti-Impersonation Right Act. And that aims to help protect artists from the harmful and unfair use of generative AI that replicates their style and work. I think a lot of people don't know that about Adobe, that we're actually very active with legislation as well. So again, it's a creative company, it's full of creatives, we're making creative tools. We want to do it right. I'm not saying that they always do or that we always will, but that's what our aim is. And part of that effort is, that I think is really important, is the Content Authenticity Initiative. Content credentials came out of the Content Authenticity Initiative. This is a coalition of, this is outdated now, it's like 4,000 members now. You can see all these logos in the background, Google, Intel, Nikon, it's on cameras like Leica, Avid, Canon. We were a co-founder of this back in 2018 or 19, I can't remember, I think it's 2019. And it's really grown, and it's created its own standards org that has content credentials, which are like a digital nutrition label that you can apply to content. So now we've been updating them, and you can apply your name, your social media handles. You get credit for your work, but also it indicates the use of AI too. So when you're seeing content credentials, you have sort of a chain of custody of who created this, how do I get in touch with them, how is it altered? So I think, I don't want to play this with sound, but you can kind of see what content credentials will look like. This is in Photoshop. So this is an image that this person is going to alter slightly. And you can go up to content credentials in Photoshop and see that and enable them as well. And then that will apply content credentials that will show all of the adjustments that you made. Not just AI, but other adjustments too. So you can see Howard's name and social media accounts are on there as well. So all the edits and activity are attached. This is also content credentials are also in Premiere Pro and Media Encoder, because before we brought in generative extend, we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to support content credentials for video as well. So you can see that there is some generative AI happening here with generative expand in Photoshop, and then he's going to make some color adjustments as well. And all of that will be recorded for full transparency about the creative process, but also the generative process. And so you can save that image with the content credentials embedded. They're a tamper-evident metadata. Go to contentcredentials.org and select the file, upload it, and it'll show you those content credentials right here and all the pieces that were altered, which is really cool. And so this is not just an Adobe thing. This is something that, as a collective, we're pushing with a lot of other companies, news organizations, but also trying to get it right, because sometimes you don't want content credentials. Like if you're in a war zone or you're kind of in a difficult area and you don't want your name attached to it because you'll be in danger. So there's a lot of complexity to this, and that's why there's this entire coalition that's working on this together. So to that end, I do want to mention also what's new with Firefly, because Max London kicked off today, Adobe Max London, which is one of our big flagship events. So with an Adobe Max comes some announcements. So I wanted to go ahead and mention those for you here as well. So has anyone used Firefly, firefly.adobe.com? With your Creative Cloud account, you have some included generations on there, so you can go on and try it out. With text to image, it's image prompting, so you can do text to image. We've been adding a ton of controls. You can see there's all this stuff over here. So you can upload like style references, composition references. You can put it on fast mode or not. And it's been updated to image model 4 and then 4 Ultra. So longer prompts, more adjustments, more fine tuning. And these models will render people, portraits, animals, architectural elements with exceptional clarity and precision. And then the Ultra model is for if your project needs even more detail. So you can do a lot of really rapid iteration with that. This is Generate Video. This went into beta a couple months ago, and it is now available, and you can go try it today. You get some generations of video. And this is sort of a real, one of our designers put together with some prompts that she created. And I think one thing that you'll probably think is, this is scary, I don't like this. And I want to tell you, go and try Firefly, Generate Video. Just pop it open and try to get something. It'll probably be okay. Prompting is hard. I think a lot of people this is my opinion right now. I think a lot of people struggle with AI because they're like, it's going to steal my creative job. And then they go and they play with the tool and they get an output that kind of sucks. They're like, AI trash is trash. But the problem is that you have to have the human spark and creativity to dream up a shot like this and then describe it in a way that AI will be able to render it and then iterate on it, and know how to use the controls to use the more advanced settings like seeds as a starting point to then iterate on. There are a bunch of us, when we were trying to do Generate Video at first, our prompts were way too short and way too simple. You have to be very specific and detailed and just as long a prompt as you possibly can to really have success in getting exactly what's in your head out on the computer. So experiment with it, for sure. Yeah, of course. I'll tell Gabby you liked it. She's a good prompter. She's practiced, and she gets some good stuff out of it. I think it's a really interesting tool to be able to use. This is an updated video model. We also added 720 and 540p and square aspect ratio and some other things like that. As you can see, there's a lot of different styles and things, but a lot of the stuff, I don't think I would have thought of it. And I'm a creative person. Some of these shots are really beautiful. And whether you use it for final production or not, I think we're all in the same boat where more and more our edits have to look finished, whether they're the offline edit or the real thing. So having stuff that looks like it could be final is always helpful, especially if it's a placeholder. A lot of this, and I'll go into this in a bit, but a lot of this is just really, really good for storyboarding and ideation to get everyone on the same page. So when you go out and then shoot some of this stuff in the field, you're spending less time fiddling around, and all your budget can really go on the screen. And you can get into the creative process and say, like, this is what it looked like, you know, in our storyboarding, in our previs, essentially. But what can we do now that we're on location? What extra spark is there going to be? What constraint is going to make us do something that's a little bit different and, you know, surprising? So another tool that we announced today in beta, so you can go and try this as well, called Boards. It's an AI-first ideation tool that allows you to brainstorm mood boarding elements, stock elements, generated assets, and then combine it with your own work and brand assets. So it's a really cool, big, shareable, multiplayer, collaborative board. And you can throw stuff on there, remix it around, you know, see how it lands, come up with a really creative storyboarding. This tool is going to be, I think, pretty incredible for filmmakers of all backgrounds, because it allows you to just so quickly iterate on ideas and remix ideas. And remixing is just, that's the spark of human intuition and imagination that you can't get with an AI alone. And this is something that's really going to enable that and blend those two methods together a lot more. So go try this on firefly.adobe.com. You'll notice it says supports third-party models. That's because we also introduced some third-party models into Firefly. So if you want to use Firefly, that's the commercially safe model. That's the one that with enterprise indemnification. But you know, different AI models have different pros and cons. They have different elements. They have different styles to them. So we want you to be able to use the Firefly family of tools, but then apply a different model if that's what your production or your project needs. So Google's Imagine 3 and Flux 1.1 are currently in text-to-image and or boards. Flux is really cool, by the way. And Google VO2 is available for text-to-video. Let me say that again. Text-to-image, Imagine 3, Flux, and boards. VO2, which is a video model from Google, is available for text-to-video. And then we're working on or exploring further integrations with these other tools listed here. Because we see a future where there's going to be a lot of AI models, and they're all going to do something different. And I think that more and more people will train their own models on their own things, or there will be a model that's just really good at imagining like hair or something, or cats, or possums, hopefully. And so you'll bring that one in when you're like, I need to do a documentary about North America's only marsupial. I'm going to get the possum AI, and I'm going to make this the best freaking possum ever. I really like possums. So with that, let's do some Q&A. And we have Jackie here now. Jackie, Senior Engineering Manager.
All right, folks, hit him with your best shots.
Oh, let's start toward the back and work our way up. Yeah. You're in the hat. You're the only one with the hat on, yeah. You said for... Okay, sure. So you said for generative extend, it extends based on the source media. But there are some media requirements imposed there, like Rec 709, 8-bit, 16:9. But we're working on that. But yes, on the source not the sequence.
You're done with the project, let's say you run it through Project Manager, and you want, the clip with handles, 1 second handles or something like that. How is it working with Project Manager and making a backup of the clip?
How is it working with Project Manager? We have a known issue right now where it doesn't work with Project Manager. But I will tell you, we're working on that. And so with a generative tool, I mean, if you asked for that clip with handles from Project Manager, it wouldn't give you any because there aren't any. It produces a 2-second clip, whether you're right. This is all in flux all the time, but right now, whether you extend 15 frames or full 2 seconds, it generates 2 seconds on disk. And so that clip is separate, and it is captured in the scratch disk area. We changed the first scratch disk to captured and generated. So there will always be that clip there for managing it. And we are working on making sure that it's managed correctly in the project manager.
When you're generating with Firefly, it sounds like a really good description is enough, but I'm wondering if it does work better or less better if you start with an image. Like if I have a forest and I want to animate the forest. Well, I have a great picture of a forest. Should I use that or just start purely with
So the question was, is it better to start with an image reference or a starting image or generate from scratch? It depends on your intent. What I have found to be a really great workflow is to do text to image first to really rapidly iterate to get the starting frame correct the way I want it from my head, and then take that into text or image to video and then prompt it from there. So then I spend less time getting the look and feel of the original, just the shot, the vibe overall, and spend more time on all the other aspects. Also, image generation is much faster, so you get more instant gratification. In text to image, no. In text...
Actually using an image that you found that you like as a starting.
Yeah, you can do that too, yeah. Yeah, if you have an image... It depends on if you're trying to create something brand new from your head or you like the look of that and you want to do that. Both of them have really great quality outputs. So either way, you'll have a really good output quality-wise. You probably, if you have a really strong vision and you're like, this photo is it, I want to start here, it'll literally take that photo and do the video off of it. It'll look exactly like that. So, yeah.
Just to add to, you also have an option for first frame and end frame as well. So if you wanted to start a certain way and then end a certain way, you can input that as well. So there are two little buttons next to the text description box where you can add in a first frame and a last frame. So that could help you put that together faster, easier.
Is there like a tutorial that you would recommend about how to prompt specifically as it relates to Firefly?
Tutorials for prompting. We have a bunch of guidance on Adobe HelpX. Shawn, do you know of anything specific?
Outside of that, no, not for prompting. I mean, no, that's great. Good, that's great feedback. But you know, I learn a lot of stuff by going on YouTube and learning a lot of things. There's a ton of people that. Possibly, yeah, but I mean, a lot of times there's really great tips online. I mean, even just searching through social, people have a lot of great ideas for prompting. That's where I usually start, but it's great feedback for us, though.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think, more on like our social channels and on our YouTube because of all the announcements that happened today. So I think there will be a lot more guidance coming this week too. All right, here.
I think this one be for Shawn. When you're looking, having your footage automatically analyzed, can you find slates both in the video and the audio?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Jackie works on media intelligence and search.
So right now, our AI doesn't look for or recognize like numbers, right? But if you type in slate, it will bring up slate because it understands the meaning of a slate. But if you're looking for slate take one, that's something that we understand users need, and we're working on it. It will. Yes, that it will do.
You could you could translate upon import for speech to text, and then it would actually technically find the
Right,
text.
but it won't show up in, yeah.
But it won't show this.
It won't show up in the visual results. So if you say, take one, scene 5, take one, you can type that in, scene 5, take one. It will show up as a transcription result, but then you won't see the slate unless you put it in slate. And it gets, so you have to play with that a little bit.
Yeah.
A quick workaround, with that.
Yeah. All right. Here.
I just had a quick question on how the generative AI takes images for its training, because you said that it would take stuff that you provided with stock images and such, and public domain images. What does public domain mean? Because I've been seeing a lot of people say, like, if it is on the internet, it's public domain.
Right. No, that's not. So yeah, the question was, what does public domain mean in the sense of like, do you scrape the internet? We don't scrape the open internet. Public domain is something where the copyright has expired, so a number of years in the past. So like 1964. Yeah. So older stuff like that. Things that are licensed to us by the users, and
What about Creative Commons?
Creative Commons. No, that's Creative Commons.
Can that be used if it's Creative Commons? Is that stuff brought in as well then?
No, it has to be completely public domain content. There's a lot of misinformation about some of this stuff and what is trained on for Firefly. And I think if you use a tool like Firefly versus Midjourney, frankly, you're going to see the difference. If you search for Spider-Man in Firefly, you're going to get Nightmare Fuel. If you search for Spider-Man in Midjourney, you're going to get Spider-Man because it has seen that. Firefly has no sense of what that IP is. It's never seen it. And so sometimes it can seem like you're searching in Firefly or you're generating something, you're like, oh, that's infringing on someone's IP, but it's never seen it. It would be a coincidence, but we take all of those very seriously because we want to understand like what's going on there. But the bottom line is we're not scraping the internet by any means.
Yeah, I was wondering in regards to AI, there's possibly a feature, maybe it exists or maybe develop in the future where it can take a piece of audio, the dialogue is not very well recorded, say the actor died, you can't do ADR, is there a way to, the AI feature that would clean it up?
An AI feature to clean up audio or to kind of regenerate something like pieces of content.
Remove like an annoying sound. That's,
Right.
Like a air conditioning that's really loud.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. I think it's certainly something we could do. You saw Project Soundlift, maybe that was at Adobe Max Japan a couple years ago, where it basically creates stems from pre-baked audio. We shipped enhanced speech, which improves dialogue. So I would say it's something that we'll look into. How often would you use it?
Pretty often.
All the time? Would you pay for it? No, just kidding. JK.
I mean, Kylee, I will say that even though I'm on the Frame.io side, I use enhanced speech inside of Premiere Pro all the time, and it does a pretty magnificent job. There are other tools that have been trained on AI that are used by people who are doing stuff for like Netflix or whatever that are specifically for audio folks. I don't know if any of you have heard of, am I allowed to say the name of Isotope RX? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so Isotope RX exists, and I used to use it all the time myself, but ever since started using enhanced speech, then, I don't have much of a need for it because enhanced speech is so good. Oh yeah, there's the generate tone, yeah.
Yeah, with generative extend, you can also not just extend video, you extend audio, and it won't extend dialogue. So if you don't have any room tone and you extend someone's dialogue, it will just extend what's underneath and create the sound bed underneath. Yeah. And you do 10 seconds of audio, so you get 10 seconds of room tone, which is really, really amazing.
Patrick, if I'm working with a company that is currently using ProofHQ, Workfront, whatever you call it, and I'd like to talk them into Frame.io, what do you recommend they do? I'll show them this video.
Yeah, well, one of the things to know is I believe ProofHQ, I don't know where it is in development, but I know it's not active. So Adobe owns both, right? In that case, yes, you can share with them. We've got marketing materials and whatnot, but if you're working with a company that's working with ProofHQ or Workfront, we have our sales teams that already are trained in both Frame.io and Workfront. I wish my friend Harriet were here. She's at the nexus of those two things. But
I'm not sure why they chose one or the other. I think only 4 of us do video and 18 of us do graphics, just like most things.
Got it. Yeah. We are moving toward Frame.io as the review and approval tool for Workfront. So that would be my general advice is
On the way.
to wait on which.
Until you finish what you just said. Moving.
Oh, no. Like that's an active process. Like I would say if they are currently using Workfront, they're looking for a review and approval tool for Workfront, Frame.io is the route to go. And we have, as we have shown earlier, all sorts of markup tools for.
Are they integrated or are they going to be integrated? In other words.
Workfront and Frame.io?
Yeah.
We have some integration, but I don't know how far along that is right now. Yeah.
For the generative extend, currently it extends time, right? Is there plans to extend, formats the same way you would in Photoshop? Say you want to make something that's 16:9 vertical.
Yeah, so the question was, generative extend will extend the video over time, but what about like expanding the canvas, like generative expand? And it's something that we've been looking at and getting customer feedback on because it's certainly something that I could see a lot of use for. It's harder with video, but if it were limited so you could only really use it for a static shot, would it still be useful? Yeah.
I mean, most of the time I would argue that it's not necessarily, it's not the center of the frame if you want to do that.
Right.
Because, the center is framed for 16:9. And
Yeah.
if you want to fit it into a vertical frame,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have this up and down that you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely something that has been asked of us before, so it's on the list to look into.
When you do the generative extend or any of the generative extension you're providing in footage, how do you prevent, because you said that you're not using our footage to train the IA model, from recursively building and bettering itself off of your stuff that you supplied?
How do we prevent the AI from going rogue and training on your stuff?
You train itself to provide you the end result and then get the feedback of that 70% result, and then it iteratively improves itself.
Do you want to
based
answer
off
that?
of what you supply.
So what's generative extend using is Adobe Firefly, is powered by that, right? So these models are in the cloud. So that part already is trained. What it does is that it uses this training and it applies an algorithm. What it does is runs through your footage. We don't actually train on it. It has to understand, though, what frames it's taking in to then create the generation, right? But the models, this is why actually with generative extend right now, it's only a cloud service, because we're going to try our best to not let robots go rogue.
So the training process is quite separate from the generation process. They're completely different things, and there's no way for it to learn when it's generating. I don't know enough about the language of how that works, but other than it literally just can't happen. And it also, it's when you're generating, it's taking like the last 7 or 8 frames from your original media only, if that is important as well. So when you're generating, if you're not getting a good output, you can slightly change the point at which you're generating from, and you'll get a different output as well, because those 7 or 8 frames are essentially your prompt. Instead of using text, you're using those frames, and it's going to try to just extend the motion. So it's not going to be learning. That's just not how it works. It's just basically taking all the stuff that is in the model and then creating something new and spitting it out, and then getting rid of the input.
Is it possible to put like a trailer script in the prompt for text to video and have it come out like
Like a full script? No, not yet. You can't put in a full script and have it and output anything. Would you want it to?
I'd love to see it,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see, please give an example of how it looks.
Yeah. Maybe play with Firefly boards a little bit. It probably gets into the territory that you're looking for, but yeah, we're always trying to strike the balance between like how much do you really want to generate versus how much do you want to do on your own. And yeah, it's definitely interesting. There are tools that do that out on the market. I can't remember the name of any.
Journey, Pika.
You know,
And those actually do train on some of the stuff that we provide stuff for to train, and it will generate entire models. So, but
There-
I know the visual performance is on the background. It's not very good.
Yeah, not to sell it, but I'm just saying, just to show what actors.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there was today. I actually saw somebody else from within Adobe who had used the text-to-video model to do the individual shots, and then they used Adobe Express to edit together those shots. So you could theoretically to get basically like a better animatic or previs. You could
Yeah.
go through use text-to-video for each shot, and then line those up
Yeah.
in the edit. But to Kylie's point, like single generation for the entire script would be not possible, or nightmare fuel.
How long do you think it'll go? How many words you put in?
I can't remember the token limit for Firefly. I know that they increased it, but I'm not sure right now.
One other question, is there anything that generates a green screen? So you can there is.
Yeah, you can go to text to video and type in, whatever you want on green screen, and it'll do that. Yeah.
Will it do it on an Apple channel?
Not yet. I know. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I'm on the constant hunt for a really good storyboard program, not like ShotDad or what you're doing with boards, but just a storyboard program. So I've asked a number of them, hey, you have a sandbox feature where I can play with my prompts because they're always different when you're prompting. Do you guys think a sandbox feature with a low-res output that comes quick as I'm typing my prompts would be a good idea so that I'm not spending my credits, which eventually I'm going to have to, on generating Firefly, so that I go, okay, here's what now I know what I need, I'm going to put it in, now I'm going to pay for it to generate the 4K. Would that be, it would be valuable to me? 'Cause
Yeah.
It takes time to learn, but if I'm sucking up all my credits,
Sure.
I'm not going to learn anymore.
Boards might actually do a little bit more of that than you might. You should go check out the demo and see if it gets into that. But something that they have been trying to do is to have like fast mode on Firefly, where you can generate the lower res and then choose to up-res it. Because and I've seen comfy UI workflows that kind of work like that as well, which is so much more complex than Firefly, but. Being able to have that sandbox, have the low res, and I like seeing stuff in comfy kind of because you can see how it's coming together and you can bail on it before it fully generates. That's pretty cool, yeah.
Okay, good.
Let's say I'm working on a documentary film, and then I just love the presentation that you show, the integration between Frame.io and Premiere. Would I be able to let's say, have the Premier look into Library of Congress or something smaller, a single branch, like New York Library, or something as big as Archive. When I type in, military industrial complex, news anchor, and then I see everything they have, would that be something that we see in the near future?
Are you saying that you want to be able to search public domain or archival libraries from within Premiere or Frame.io so that you don't have to go to a bunch of individual websites to find what you're looking for?
Right. Yeah. It would be
Jackie should take this.
It's a very good feature request. I think one of the things that we think about as a team is how do we keep our users in Premiere to be productive, right? And this is our first version of Search Media Intelligence. And I think one of the things that did come up even among ourselves is like, well, wouldn't it be cool if we can spotlight the entire world of editorial content within Premiere? I think that's kind of what you're asking for. So yes, we understand the feature requests and hopefully becoming soon. I don't know. But we have the requests.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part about you asking us that is that Jackie is, the engineering manager for Search, and I'm on Frame.io, and we're both documentary folks. So great crossover here.
Search, but less grandiose than this. Can we search by shot size? And can we also limit the search to a specific folder or to a specific sequence?
Shot size, like...
Close-up.
Yes. You can search, you can describe close-up, low angle, drone shot, whatever in the prompting. We also added to public beta this week additional filtering options to be able to filter based on metadata like... hopefully media duration. We're working on it. But other things like only pull up the clips that have like a green label or are marked as good or whatever, but not currently able to just pin it to a specific bin yet. Right?
Yeah, that's coming. But if we get creative, we can label our bins a certain color and potentially use a filter that has that color, and hopefully you'll get your result when we release this feature.
Yeah, but we know, like, everybody is like, I want to limit it to a specific bin because I kind of know where it is. I don't want to have to search everything, but yeah. So yeah.
Any more questions? No?
One more.
All right. Well, let's give a big hand.
I'm Sandy Missouri. I'm the membership chair for San Diego Media Pros. If you are not a member, I really, really think you should join. It's the cheapest membership anywhere. It's only $80. We put on events like this. Wasn't this awesome? Let's give Eric a hand. Yeah. Right, so we've got all the time things going on, educational events, networking events, mentor events. For you students with a verified ID, we have a free membership. And for the rest of you, it's only $80. Like, seriously, I have memberships that cost me more than that a month. I mean, should we talk about the Adobe, right? I mean, it's nothing. I'm just bitter because I have to have 3 of them. No, but I have 3, so I love you guys. No, but seriously, right? I mean, like, we do so much. We are growing and growing and growing, and we are doing so many more things. We've got so much more to come. So if you're not a member already, go on to sdmediapros.org and sign up. Second, if anybody wants to PA in May, there's a comedy that's shooting. It's got 2 weeks, Michael? Starting on Monday, and it's for 2 weeks, and they're looking for PAs. So if anybody's interested, talk to me or talk to Michael Wood, and we will.
Everybody, first off, I want to say a huge round of thanks again to Patrick, to Shawn, to Jackie, to Kylee for coming down. It is not often we get Adobe to come down here. I think the last time you guys came down was Al Mooney was still here. That's long ago. And quick story about that, and this is hilarious. So I picked up Al from the hotel, was driving him to the meeting location, and this is right before Final Cut 10 came out. And Al and I were talking about it. Now, for those who don't know, Al Mooney used to be product manager of Premiere. And we were driving the car, and we were talking about it, and we were kind of saying, you know, wouldn't it be funny if Apple really just dropped something that just like was completely different and screwed over all their user base? And then we started laughing, like, that'll never happen. And then like a month later at NAB, they dropped Final Cut 10, and the user base revolted, and you know, Premiere got all these new users. I'm not discouraged, I'm not defaming Final Cut 10, maybe a little bit, but I'm a Premiere user, so I can say that. But anyway, it's been that long, and that was 2011. Were you? Oh, really? Oh. You did a wonderful job, Jackie. We're glad to have you on Team Adobe. Anyway, it's been that long, and as somebody who's been running this user group since 2009, and I don't know what the math is on that. I should, because that's how long I've been married. How long is it? 16. Thank you, 16. That means I'm celebrating 16 years of marriage this year. Thank you for reminding me about that. It has been awesome to run this group, and I love having Adobe down, and hopefully we can have you all again sometime. I know that San Diego is a rough city to visit. It's not very pretty, you know, but anyway, thank you again for coming down. Terrible weather. Thank you all for coming. I hope to see you at the screening on May 21st. And then, yeah, look for future user group events on our Facebook page and Meetup page, San Diego Media Pros. You've got all their information. Have a good night, everybody.